Nice. Okay, so as was said previously, we're four of the 9 co-founders of Le Ciel Foundation. There's Lucy,
Hello.
Sophie,
Hi.
Peter,
Hello.
and I'm Olivier. So we'll try to answer all your questions as clearly as possible about the film, and the word is for you, to you.
I'm very curious to place the first question. I hope that it will do justice to everybody's curiosity. I'd like to know what inspired you, and if you feel that initially, because this is a grand project, and obviously you can't have achieved everything you hoped for by the showing of this film, but what inspired you, and initially, do you feel that you've achieved your first step of what you set out to achieve?
Well, that's a brilliant question. I mean, does anyone want to go? I can go. All right. So what inspired us is what inspired the foundation, the setup of the foundation, the creation of it. All 9 members of the foundation have walked on a spiritual path of growth for a while, and some of them went through rituals or initiations, some of them not. But we all received at one point throughout our journey, we received a life mission. Something that was so strong in terms of transmission that it resonated with us deeply. And then when we realized what the missions were individually, we also realized that they were way too big for us to achieve on our own. So what we did is we decided to collaborate, all join our forces, so that we could actually succeed in achieving all of our missions in this lifetime. So this is what inspired the setup of the foundation, and the council. Finding those 12 elders and bringing them to the UN was one of those clear visions and life missions of one of us. The very important thing that we need to say is that this vision we've actually, during the trips that we made around the world to find the elders, we've actually met a lot of people who had exactly the same. They downloaded exactly the same broadcast, telling them you need to gather 12 elders and bring them someplace. So that made us realize that it was a broadcast and not a actual individual transmission. It's a mission that we share with a lot of people.
We even heard about this mission before one of us received it. So it's something we've heard about, and at some point one of us received it.
Yeah, the only difference is that we acted on it. We decided to collectively go for it because it resonated so strongly with us.
Yeah, so it was a package. So it was to bring the 12 to the council in New York, and also to make the documentary to actually spread the messages of these 12 elders and provide them a vehicle to spread it to all people around the world.
How did you choose the 12?
So it was not about choosing them. How we are working in our foundation is only through meditation or channeling. And so when the mission has been received by one of us, we went into a state of meditation, let's say, and we tried to find them through the countries first. And so it was the easiest part. And after that, it was, okay, when are we supposed to go there? And so we had the precise dates to go there. And so sometimes we arrived in the country with no contact with the elder. And sometimes we were leaving England knowing where we were going exactly. So it was really about faith and determination.
Yeah, it's hard to say that we chose them. We definitely, after traveling and meeting them, we have the strong sense that they chose us, or not us particularly. They chose crazy Westerners who could actually deliver on bringing them to the UN. There's a particularity, though. We realized that they were brought to the UN to do this ritual because they have a particular quality that you've seen in the film underneath their name. They have a spiritual quality that makes them compatible, all of them together. And so when they were brought to the UN, they all clicked like a puzzle, and they opened up, higher levels of spirituality or access to the higher planes. They don't represent any tradition. They don't represent their countries. They don't represent their culture at all. They're not gurus. they're very humble people, usually that are only known in their village, for most of them. So the process of being brought to them was entirely done through a channeling and letting go and being in the flow. But maybe we can talk a little bit about that afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, in truth, we felt that they called us, they brought us to them, and they breadcrumbed the route for us to get to them.
Yes, some of them even told us when we arrived there, we were waiting for you. Our ancestors told us that some people were going to come to put us with other people we didn't know. So we were a bit surprised, but it happened.
Are there more of these energetic centres in other UN locations, or locations other than the UN?
Other than the UN or whether UN? In
well,
general?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Earth has many of these energetic locations, and actually the Kogi and the Wiwa in the film, they're now setting out to look for 12 sacred sites around the Earth to reactivate them. So like the body also has, sacred pots like chakras, so does the Earth, and the UN sits on one of them.
Is there still communication between the elders, or did they just go back to their lives?
So they are still communicating spiritually, for sure, because they already known each other before, even if they didn't see or meet each other physically. So we know that they are continuing their work. They are telling us, because we are in communication with them, that sometimes they are really working with one of them. So spiritually they are working together. But also we gathered some of them at the Holistic Vision Symposium, one of our other projects last year in Barcelona. And they were really happy. There were only 3 of them, but they decided to really work as one again. And other projects are going to put them together.
So I am not a spiritual person at all. I wouldn't say, I have any kind of faith in anything other than what I can, see and touch and, So ultimately, by kind of spreading the film and spreading the message, what is the ultimate aim? Is it to kind of cultivate an enlightenment within people, or?
So first of all, you're spot on. Spirituality is about direct experience. It's not about dogmas. It's not about teachings, or it's about something that you live. So if you have faith in what you experience, then you're on a spiritual path. That's first of all. And then in terms of what we're trying to achieve here, Le Ciel Foundation in general is trying to make a bridge between traditional wisdom and modernity. We strongly believe, and we've experienced as well, that wisdom traditions have numerous spiritual and very pragmatic keys that could help us immensely for the future to build something that is very different. So by spreading the basic messages and by having people realize how all of these different traditions actually say the same thing without being in touch, being in contact with each other, they have the same message, and that message is very clear. It's a primal message. It's a primordial message. This is how things used to go before we took a strange path that leads us to where we are now. So we're trying to bridge that, and we're trying to have the Western world understand that it's not just about spiritual stuff. It can be very concrete and pragmatic in terms of lifestyles and in terms of values.
And an example of that is respect each other and respect nature.
And I think everybody watches the film in a different way, depending, from where you're coming from. So you might be picking up certain sentences that someone else doesn't pick up. And by the way, I was not on a spiritual journey myself when this film started. And for me, it was more a film about nature at the beginning. And the more meeting these 12 and the more you could see their connection to the earth and to the spirit world, at some point I just kind of had to let go and also start trusting in what they're saying. And because these messages will keep repeating and repeating and repeating, it was like, okay, there's definitely a truth here. And the hope is also maybe, to awaken people as well. You don't have to become... the word spiritual has also been so perverted in a sense that people start judging you when you say, I'm a spiritual person. And it's really about, as Olivier said, just being in the present and and just being conscious about what's around you, and that's all what it is.
I will add just a quick thing. There's we're trying as in our daily lives to actually embody what these people have taught us or have shared with us. So as a foundation, the way we function is maybe not exactly because it's embedded in modernity, but it's very inspired of how a tribe functions. There's in our case, there's absolutely no hierarchy, and everything is done through the lens of community. And then we understand that whatever, if we have a problem with someone else from the group, we know it comes from us. It just that person triggers something within us. Whatever we see, good or bad, needs to be looked at as being something, a personal phenomenon. And then you extend that to the way you work, the way that every time you feel in flow, it's because you're well balanced and you vibrate at the right level. Every time you're stuck, there's something going on with you or within the group, or that interconnection doesn't work anymore. And by doing this and practicing the letting go, meaning I'm in full faith, having no idea what lies ahead of me except the next perfect step that I can do. Well, it successfully had us find 12 people out of 7 billion. It brought us to the UN. It enabled us to do a symposium with 144 people from 37 countries. We made a film. We did an exhibition. All that guided without us putting any of our expectations or even emotions or intentions into it. So it works, and we're trying to be some kind of proof of concept that it can be done in the Western world, as a group, as an individual. It's hard. As a group, it's easier.
May I say, and I'm sorry, do I need the microphone?
Yes, so other people can hear you.
May I say that I'm very curious about one essential concept of this, about Lucy discovering your spiritual journey on the route of this film, and recognizing that you're in pursuit of the discovery of something much more primordial than our what you call modernity, our modern city-based lives. But not so very long ago, 100 years ago or so, we lived in what were more natural communities. And I think what's really crucial here, and I want to ask you if you've recognized this, is that all of these people, every single one of these 12 representatives who brought you to them and whose story you've told and who you've brought into our not so natural world, we're actually identifying that the very soul of humanity is essentially linked to nature.
That's it.
Can you comment on that? Because bringing them to New York is not actually... It is a phenomenal success, and I grant it to you, and you've created a phenomenal movie, and I hope that I will have the opportunity to watch it again and again so I can gain much more understanding of it. But have we, as an audience here, really understood the message that your 12 missionaries brought to us, which is the essentiality of art, human souls, and nature?
I mean, that's a question for every individual. I mean, personally, I can say every time I see the film, even though we were all part of this journey, I learned something new. Something that they have in common, the elders, is they'd push it back a lot further than 100 years, right? At some point in history, they would argue the reason that we're in such a problem now, environmentally, economically, socially, is because the sacred was separated from the material. Right? Even our creation story within Christianity, it starts with a guy pointing at a woman going, it was her fault. I mean, that's bonkers. Right? So what they're saying is, we have so much love to give you. Then they're not asking anything of us. They have so much love to give us. And it's, guys, you've just got to tweak a couple of things. One of them is this separation thing has got to end. you need to work together. You need to respect each other, and you need to respect nature. It's exactly what you said. It's really that simple.
It's also recognizing that nature is everywhere, but it's particularly inside our true nature. And so they are inviting us to know ourselves better, to not think that we are only people going to work and looking at the TV and going to vacation sometimes. Maybe we have something else in our life we don't know sometimes. So they are pushing us to meet ourselves and our true nature, to realize that we are part of nature.
And then nature, per se, is the perfect point of entry. You know, if you go in any forest, or if even a small garden, and you put your hands in the ground, the thoughts will stop. You'll be in another state of mind. You'll be in a different place than your job is somewhere else, so all your worries. And that state of mind will bring you, small but certain revelations about yourself, about what you want to do, about your real inspiration in life. So nature is the perfect point of entry to your actual true nature. That process, and this is what you're talking about, is absolutely perfect. It's flawless. If you want to reconnect with yourself, reconnect with nature first, and then you'll be given tools and keys that are priceless for your own understanding of yourself. And thank you for pointing that out.
Was there any worry in exposing the elders to the Western world about whether they might change their ways?
Not that much, because when you meet the 12, you just know they just are. There's no way they're going to kind of, be tempted to suddenly go shopping or or stay there, because actually when they started, the more they went into the modern world, the more they kind of were shocked by the alienation that we've kind of created. And, as the Bushman said, where are the trees? And that they don't really. They were also very, very clear that they were going on a mission. So when they were invited to go to the council, there was always a straightaway yes. And for the Bushmen who didn't even know where New York was, they had not even been to Gaborone, the capital of Botswana, it was straightaway yes, we're coming. And that was with every single one. Even the Gabonese master at the end of the meditation said, I've been waiting for this moment for 3 years to come, because he saw it in his vision as well, that this had to happen, that 12 elders come together. So for them, they were just like on a mission, I'm going there and then out again. And they were very happy to go back to their communities and to their countries and back to nature, even though they had an amazing experience and were absolutely ecstatic after the ritual, because they felt they created something very powerful and loved the whole experience together. But yeah.
So as a team, we try to give them as much as comfort possible. So they had a translator, an assistant from their own countries. They choose them, and obviously a nice hotel, and also warm clothes, because New York is not Gaborone. And it was also about following their flow, meaning that they knew that they had 2 days of work at the assemblage first, and after that the UN. But when the Kogi and the Wigwa said, we want to go to Central Park because we have rocks to bless, and we need to go to this place because we have a blessing to do, it was really about following their flow, because they know what they have to do. Even if they never went somewhere, they know that they had to go somewhere.
One caveat, that there was one group who took longer to say yes, and it just feels right to say that, which is the Wigwa and the Kogi. So in their eyes, they said yes, but they had to go through 2 or 3 months of protocols of moving through the mountains and the savannas in Colombia to pay respects and ask permission of the mountains and the plants and the trees to make sure it's the right thing to come.
Because they didn't really want to come to New York, because it's really exhausting for them. But as they said in the film, it was really Mother Earth calling, so they had to come.
Firstly, why 12? And then each of the 12 have their name and then a title. What's the significance of the title? Where does that come from?
So 12, well, again, this was a vision, so we didn't decide of a number. We know And we all know that 12 is a special number. There's 12 apostles. There's the number 12 is found in very mystical situations throughout history. In our knowledge, it was 12 plus 1. So it was always 13. It's 12 plus the eternal. So that's why the council was named the Council of 12 and above. So there were really 13 at the table. The subtitles you see, we talked a little bit about it. It's the spiritual qualities that individually they embodied fully. So Japan, for example, is precision and determination. That's what he embodies fully as a spiritual characteristic. The Bushmen from Botswana are joy and simplicity. That's what, when you meet them, that's what resonates from them. And so these qualities are the actual spiritual pieces of the puzzle who clicked together to make such a beautiful ritual at the end.
And so we discovered those keys prior the meeting. When we were in the plane, usually we're asking ourselves, okay, who are we going to meet? And so those qualities were coming to us. And sometimes it was quite, receiving the womb of creation was quite something. We didn't know what it was, It was, okay, womb of creation. But we arrived in front of Julieta from Mexico, and she was just love, pure love. This thing, you know that it's the best place to create something. Love.
Merci.
I think Olivier, it was you who mentioned the analogy that we have, somehow kind of deviated from the path, and we now need to bridge our way back to kind of the right way. To me, it strikes me rather depressingly that gap is kind of fast widening, and in the case of certain things like the environment or the climate, things are getting more and more urgent in terms of time frame. I suppose my question to you, for you lot who have dealt with the elders throughout this process and have spoken to them and been amongst them, is kind of how do you find that they've maintained their hope, their faith, their optimism, whatever you might call it, and if they have maintained that, how do you think they're able to keep kind of moving forward and keep the hope?
So first of all, they are working every day and even every night for the planet and for all of us. They are hard worker, and they really believe and they know that human beings can harmonize themselves with living beings and the planet. They have this knowing that it can happen if we decide to change a bit of way to live. They explained us, particularly the Kogis and Wiwas, that we have maximum 5 years to change our way to work with ourselves, in between ourselves and with the planet, to go from a state of revolution. So we are at this point right now, and it's to do a full turn and going back to the same point, to arrive maybe, if we are all working together, in a state of evolution. So it's an ascending spiral. And they really believe that it's now, and we are living an amazing period altogether, because we have a choice to make. And when you have a choice to make, it's about free will. So let's work together. It's really what they are saying us, and they really believe in it.
And just to complement, it all goes with a basic principle, right? And it's the whole job we have to do together as well as humans. It's the taking responsibility part. They're very optimistic because they know for a fact through direct experience that you create the reality that you live in. So if you're negative and in fear, and this will keep on going. The problem is that us Westerners, or the majority of people on Earth, are conditioned through fear. And so this reality that we live, and the widening of the gap, like you're saying, and the things going faster and faster in terms of negative, is something that there's a silent agreement to it from the mass of people. They think they can't do anything about it. They think that somebody else is creating all this for them. But no, by simply believing in the situation we're in, we're giving a silent agreement, and we're manifesting, we're co-creating altogether this negative reality, which doesn't mean that if we all think the same, things will change. It means that, first of all, we need to be very positive. We need to be very engaged, very energetic about it, because this is how we're going to manifest something else. And then we need to work, of course. We need to collaborate all together. We need to create. We need to change our behaviors and patterns. But being optimistic is the fundamental of, changing reality. Does that make sense?
Also, one of the things that they have in common is the notion of no compromise, right? So if you spoke to any of these elders and you said, we're going to have a negotiation as to how much poison we can put into a river, they'll just look at you like you're crazy. So there are principles which they know, they've remembered, and they've defended. It's not their role has not been an easy one by any means, but they continue to work. They're absolutely connected, and they'll never give up. But there's this notion that one can design our realities, and like Olivier said, if you take the responsibility of that and realize that, and you jump full in, then there's every reason to be positive.
Yeah, and there's also a huge awakening happening right now. So I think, in the news and everywhere we see so much negativity, but, when you start walking this path, you meet more and more people who are walking the same and awakening in all corners of the world. And there really is actually a lot of hope as well. So, and as Olivier said, and everyone said, it's really about starting to create your own reality and your own future. And because it is not going to come from the governments, it's going to come from us with collaboration. So that's what everybody has to start. And this is one of the missions of the film, I guess, for people to really, think what can they do within themselves, within their communities.
Yeah, that's a great intro to what we're trying to do with the film afterwards. So with that film, this is why it's going to be available for free to download, to stream, available with a media kit, with a film Q&A, with all sorts of different materials to actually make the movie your own, and then spread it around, organize your own screenings, and have debates in your community, and then try to move forward with that. But we're trying on at the same time to create collective intelligence. So when the movie is released, you'll be able to actually access this and download it. You'll be able to also access a community platform where all the different screenings and organizations of screenings will be consultable. You'll be able to join in and organize your own, but join others, and then you'll be able, after you've seen the movie, you'll be able to exchange ideas. You'll be able to, raise awareness in different communities, and the goal is to raise collective intelligence, to raise a movement that goes from the bottom up. And that empower people like you and I to actually change their reality with or within a certain framework which is inspired by old wisdom traditions around the world. And that framework is values and principles. Values around integrity, about responsibility, about interconnectivity, about unity, evolution. And then principles that define the actual fabric of life, of the living, and with values and principles, then coming from down up, we'll be able to find absolutely concrete and pragmatic solutions that will change the future forever. That is a certainty.
Do the members of Le Ciel Foundation organise meditation events, or is that something you might consider doing for certain causes?
So we are doing some meditations in London. We've done one meditation, global meditation, during the council, just before the council. And now we're working with someone from our ecosystem who put together the all-one meditation, because during the council, he was in meditation and we received that he had to continue this global meditation. So he offered us a framework to meditate every first of the month at for 11 minutes altogether. So it's about every month giving 11 minutes to the universe with the best intentions for the planet and for all of us. In doing some global meditation now for Le Ciel, we were asked to do that, so maybe at some point it's going to happen, but it's not part of our mission right now.
Yeah, we have around 2.5 years of weekly meditations recorded. And by meditation, we actually mean guided spiritual journeys, because we're not about relaxing people. We're about, helping them grow. So at one point we'll do something with all these meditations. Maybe after the movie is released, that will be a new mission that emerges. For the moment, it's not a plan yet. But do contact us through the website if you want to have an idea or anything. We're open to anything.
You are talking about other missions. What are they, apart from the film?
So the first one was a council. The second one was an exhibition. It was Wisdom and Nature. It's an exhibition that traveled from London to Paris to the US, to New York. It was all the art has been given by the artist, and it was to help us to fundraise for the council. And the theme of this exhibition was really for everyone to feel that beauty is everywhere. It's not about trying to buy the most extravagant thing, to have something beautiful. Beauty is everywhere, in the eyes of everyone, in nature. And we have another.
Well, it's also the nice thing about the exhibition, because it was called Wisdom and Nature. It's sort of an entry level or a point of contact with nature, right? You don't have to have worldly discussions about spirituality. Everyone can appreciate a beautiful photograph of a child playing in the woods. Right, so that was the first one.
Well, it seems like a cool exhibition.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Children running in the woods. The third mission was the film that you just saw, and then the fourth mission is the Holistic Vision Symposium. The Holistic Vision Symposium is the continuity of what the elders did at the UN. They set up an energetic blueprint. They set up a new potential for a change, a different future, and they did that spiritually. And now it needs to trickle down into reality. It needs to manifest. And the Holistic Vision Symposium is about that. It's about bringing people together to actually think about the different issues that are crucial for our future. But instead of thinking about it independently, like most conventions or conferences do, it's to acknowledge that everything is so interconnected in life that you cannot resolve one issue without actually thinking of all the others and resolving them. Every issue is part of the global solution. You cannot solve things globally by just concentrating on one point. That was the first level, the interconnectivity of the different topics. And the second level was
the fact that the group 13 was the group 7, was the Sacred in Reality. So it was the masters from the Council of 12 and above. Some of them were present during the symposium, and they were here to guide through meditation or only through their presence all the groups to reconnect their solutions to the sacred. And again, it's not to go in a la la land, It's really to see that you can see that water is a living being. It's not only something we need to be alive. It's a living being, and that is a part of the sacred of it.
Yeah, so instilling sacredness meaning connection. Connection to nature, connection to within, connection to whatever. It's not religious at all, but instilling sacredness means that the framework we talked about, the framework with the values and the principles. If you actually co-create solutions in a holistic fashion, looking at all the issues at the same time with those values and those principles, then you have a much better chance to come up with solutions that are sustainable for the hundreds of years, and that might actually, make a paradigm shift, a true one. So that's what the symposium is all about.
It's also about a community, because 144 people who are working on completely for free went for the symposium, and they are still working in the quest during the last year and during in between the last symposium and the next one in December. So it's really knowing that there's people on Earth who wants to give that time, even if they don't have some, because they are really, they are really with a lot of things to do, but they decided to give a bit of that time to create something together. And it's what maybe we can all do, even 10 minutes a day.
And just to reiterate, the elders, sort of the group 7 in the symposium, their gift is by instilling the sacred into not only supporting the individuals, but all of our organizations and our businesses. That gives us collectively a chance to optimize our systems, right? You can't optimize a system, the way we run things, without this connection to nature.
And then to wrap it up, we have projects, community projects with the elders. They were given a donation after the Wisdom and Nature exhibition to actually do a community project in their own communities. So the Bushmen, for example, set up a school for the young people to learn them the ways of the bush and learn them the way of the trance dance, because that knowledge is absolutely disappearing. And that school started last summer, had so much success that now everybody's talking about it in the desert, and everyone wants their school. So that initiative is going on, keep on going.
Yeah, another thing that we're supporting, as we already mentioned, was the We1 Kogi going out to reactivate those 12 sacred sites of the earth. So we're also fundraising for that, so they can go on their mission.
And there's also, let's talk about 2 more, just little ones. The first one is in Gabon. They have more than 7,000 plants, medicinal plants, and the goal is to find a way to do a book, to know what plants are where and for what. And we also are working with a collective of other peoples and Le Ciel from the last Davos to maybe create something for the next Davos called the SDG Plus, meaning that SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 SDGs, maybe with a little plus, it would be every one of you inside of it. So all the sacred you have inside of you, inside of the SDGs.
Yeah, it's the same concept, going beyond the SDGs. So if you SDG 6, let's make water accessible to the entire world, or to most people on the planet. Going beyond the SDG plus, putting sacredness into that. Well, let's provide them with water that is alive. For the moment, the water we drink is absolutely dead. There's no structure, no vibration, no emotion in it, no positiveness in terms of vibration. So let's try to provide the whole world with water that actually is a huge benefit to you. Why? Because you're made 70% out of water. Your cells are made of water. Water communicates with. If you drink water that is dead, well, what does that tell to your cells? And this, because everything is interconnected, water has an impact on your health. It has an impact on at least 14 other sustainable development goals. So trying to go beyond and trying to bring in Davos another experience for people to live. So we're trying to set up a venue where you can have a direct experience of what being connected to nature is, to the different solutions that already exist and are absolutely radiant with light and with alignment with the values that we're talking about. And providing that experience for people to actually understand that the SDGs are missing a culture. They're economic frameworks for the moment, but they're missing a culture, and they're missing the actual people to understand and support that culture, and that those people are you. So the whole community thing that happens with the film will happen with the SDG Plus. It will be the continuity of that.
I think it's great that you mentioned it's going to be available free for people to download and all that, because I think it's all part of the awakening process. And I just wanted to perhaps mention that maybe if people are thinking that it's such a daunting, we have such a mountain to climb, it's everything is so negative at the moment, might be worth noting that only a relatively small number of really highly conscious and awake people can get that momentum going in order to reach a certain tipping point.
Very true.
Yes, it's really something we have to take on board. It's even scientifically, they are saying that you need 3.5% of the populations who wants to move forward to shift the balance. So it's not even getting into action completely. It's only maybe sometimes wanting to do it. Because when you want to do it, you think about it. Thinking about it, it's already doing it. You know, everything is beginning in your thought. So if you decide that you are going to stop taking fruit with plastics, or stop taking, even if you need 2-3 months or 1 year to buy your fruit with no plastic, for 1 year you are going to put that like in the field, and it's changing already things. So we can do it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it Maître Atum, the gentleman from Gabon, it's one of the reasons why he says, be very, very careful, not only with your deeds and your words, but with your thoughts, right? To not be driven by fear, to not be driven by love. And if you start telling yourself, I'm not going to buy plastic, at some point, you won't be able to do it.
Yeah, and actually, the Kogi Wiwa said the same, Evangelista from Colombia, which was actually my personal awakening, because he said, yeah, you really, if you have bad thoughts or hard thoughts against yourself, you're really actually harming the earth as well, because she sucks up everything. And I'm like, okay, I thought I couldn't, be negative towards myself and nobody will know, but the whole universe can kind of pick that up. So really, really, you're really recreating your cells and rewiring your brain by thinking positively, and then you start acting differently. It's really that's where it starts.
Yeah, it's very true. So a minority of people can make a huge change, and it's mathematical. So thank you for reminding that, Themis. And then I'll just bounce on that, on the free download. If you actually resonated with the film and with its messages, then spread it around. Let's make the bet that we're able to touch 3.5% of the planet with the film, and see what happens then.
I would like to ask if you mind sharing and commenting on a practical level your personal experience, if there is any in your day-to-day life, like lifestyle-wise, anything that you shifted from experiencing this creation of this movie and the connection you had with the 12 involved.
Who wants to start?
I think we shifted a lot of stuff. Maybe everything in our life. It's really seeing the world in another way. It's as soon as you have a fear, because we are educated that way, to realize that, oh, I have it. And fear is the opposite of love. So let's get rid of the fear, or face it, to be able to go beyond it and discover love. And to realize that when you have love, you can love everyone. And because we are all the same, they are really explaining us that we are feminine, masculine, and divine, all of us. So we are all the same. So after that, it's like everything is much easier. When you want to communicate with someone, you can be in a sarong, barefoot, in the jungle, or with high heels in New York, It's the same. You just have to be. So for me, it was the most practical thing, to be.
And really moving from your head into your heart. I think, in the modern world, or in the Western, or the way we're educated is so much in the head and in the intellect, and it's really about going down here. And as Sophie just mentioned, then all of that comes by itself, because you're just being then, and you're not trying to be something else. And a massive thing is really the positive thoughts and really trying to retrain the way you're thinking, mostly about yourself and about the judgments you have of people around you. And then suddenly a lot of things just change by itself.
Yeah, to me, the whole process, because we're talking to you, the foundation is 2.5 years old, and so the daily process has been every day for the past 2.5 years. To me, every day I'm kind of going back to my childhood. The moment where you were able to believe anything, and it would actually happen. The magic of life would present itself to you in every minute, every second, and you would be ecstatic on the things that you saw. Well, it's exactly the same thing now. The stories that we have, just because we have decided to function as we function as a single organism, letting go of everything, working constantly to be at a sufficient level of vibration all together so that things happen and bring us the success that the universe wants to bring to us. It's never about expectations that we have, but it actually happens. We have one of the most amazing stories, and there are, hundreds of them, is 3 days before the council. 3 days before the council, we're in New York in an apartment. We don't have a room at the UN. We don't have a venue on the first day to, put all these elders in. Everybody has their plane tickets. We know that 2 days afterward, they're all coming to the hotel. The theme of the year, the whole year that just went on, was unity. And we thought we were in unity at this point. But since we still 3 days prior don't have that room at the UN or a venue on the Saturday, we're like, this is a major blockage. Something is wrong. And when something is wrong, when you're blocked, then you stop in your tracks and then you look at yourself. Right? If something doesn't flow, it's because there's a problem with our group. And then we start working on it. And I remember, I always tell this story the same way because it's so magical. I remember it was so sunny all the days prior to this one, and this one we woke up and we realized the blockage, and the sky was absolutely gray, full of clouds and totally cluttered. And then we decide to stop and work, and during 6 hours we work on the theme of unity, trying to get there because we felt that we were, but obviously we weren't. So for 6 hours we say everything, we clear everything that needs to be cleared amongst us. There's laughter, there's a lot of tears, there's tensions, there's explosions, but after 6 hours, we vibrate with each other and we feel that we're at this precise point we need to be so that the council actually happens. And at this moment, we look up and the sky is clearing up. And the blue sky is actually showing behind the clouds. That's a perfect sign. We open our phones and open our computers again, and we have a message from Equator Initiative, which had heard about us 3 days prior by someone, one of our contacts, without even us really knowing about it. And the guys come back to us and say, we have a room for you. We love what you're trying to do. We have the room, we can have the passes. Wow, amazing. And the morning after, the assemblage in New York calls us up. We love what you're doing. You have the room for the whole day, for the Saturday. So we had a venue in a matter of hours just because we were in flow again. Everything was coming to us. And that's pure magic, so that's the main thing for me. It's that magic in my life.
That's good.
You want to top that off?
As Olivier said, there's hundreds of stories. How long do you have? I concur that all the mystic traditions and all the 12 are mystics. One learns through direct experience, right? So there are no books or gurus or teachings per se. Everything is your teacher. And we were put through such an extreme experience for a year that we got a chance to live an extreme life with extreme feedback loops that were immediate. So the realization that what's going on around you here is just a reflection of what's going on, and that when you're in flow or when you're really connected to the sacred, astonishing things happen. You're a Paris-Dakar driver going through the Kalahari when you're actually not a very good driver, or extraordinary sort of things start to link up and synchronicities and the right people start showing up. I mean, it's amazing. But then at the same time you get confronted with being in a rut, but you're being given the tools to figure out how to do that. And you see how the universe allows you to grow through these tests and these challenges and these magical moments of beauty. and that the more you get tested on faith, if you really hold the line, magic starts to happen. You get tested on determination or patience, and you get there. There's this beautiful saying that doubt is just a signifier. It's a milestone on the way to victory. Just keep going. Just keep going, and it's just beautiful. So I think we all experience that many times, and are super grateful for the experience.
We're going to have to leave it there. I think that's a really lovely place to leave it. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.